Rain poured over the city streets, turning every puddle into a mirror of flickering streetlights. On a corner, under the dim glow of a lamp, a small boy sat beside a red bicycle, shivering from both the cold and the weight of responsibility. His messy chestnut hair stuck to his forehead, and his big brown eyes glistened with determination and fear. Clutched tightly in his tiny hands was a cardboard sign, boldly scrawled with desperate words, "Buy my bike, Mommy needs medicine." Each passerby ignored him, wrapped in their own world, while he waited, hoping someone, anyone, would care enough to stop. Behind him, his mother, Emily Walker, huddled in a damp coat, her light brown hair plastered to her face, blue-gray eyes filled with anxiety and silent pleading. She whispered encouragements, though her own heart ached with helplessness. Across the street, a sleek black car idled, Mr. Garrett, the wealthy CEO who had recently fired her, watching with sharp, calculating eyes. The boy's plea pierced the tension of the rain-soaked night, a fragile cry for survival that threatened to crack even the hardest heart. In that moment, innocence, desperation, and the faint glimmer of hope collided, setting the stage for a story of struggle, compassion, and life-changing choices. The rain fell relentlessly against the small apartment window, creating a soft, rhythmic drumming that filled the otherwise silent room. Inside, Emily Walker, 34, knelt beside her son, Noah, 8, near the fogged glass, the glow of the streetlights filtering through thin curtains. Her light brown hair was damp and slightly tangled, framing her pale, exhausted face. Her blue-gray eyes flickered with worry, reflecting both fear and fierce love for her child. She pressed a hand to Noah's small back, feeling the slight tremble beneath her fingers, whispering gentle reassurances that sounded hollow even to her own ears. Noah leaned against his mother, his chestnut brown hair wet from the drizzle he had braved outside earlier, brown eyes wide with quiet determination. The red bicycle he had placed by the window gleamed faintly in the dim light, a small symbol of hope amidst their struggle. A handmade cardboard sign, slightly crumpled from use, read, "Buy my bike, Mommy needs medicine." His tiny hands rested on the edges, fingers gripping tightly, reflecting both courage and helplessness. The apartment was modest and cluttered, unpaid bills stacked on a table, a flickering light bulb casting long shadows, and worn furniture that told silent stories of hardship. Yet despite the bleak surroundings, the warmth between mother and son was palpable. In this quiet, rain-drenched evening, love and desperation intertwined, painting a tender portrait of resilience. Every sigh, every glance, every small gesture spoke volumes, a cinematic, intimate window into the lives of a family fighting to survive. The morning sun poured through the tall glass windows of the sleek corporate office, illuminating the polished mahogany desk and chrome accents in a golden glow. Emily Walker, 34, sat tensely on the edge of a black leather chair, fingers intertwined in her lap, knuckles white from nervous anticipation. Her light brown hair, slightly damp from the morning drizzle, was tucked neatly behind her ears, yet stray strands framed her exhausted, pale face. Her blue-gray eyes were wide, filled with cautious hope and lingering worry, as she stole glances at the imposing figure seated across from her. Every beat of her heart seemed magnified in the silence of the room. Across the desk, Mr. Garrett, 47, exuded authority, yet a subtle softness tugged at the edges of his usual cold demeanor. His salt and pepper hair was meticulously styled, suit perfectly tailored, and piercing blue eyes that once reflected sharp calculation now betrayed hints of empathy. He leaned back slightly in his chair, hands resting lightly on the desk, observing Emily with a mixture of professional detachment and the faintest stirring of conscience. The contrast between them was stark, the sleek, polished office representing wealth, control, and societal power, and Emily's humble presence embodying struggle, determination, and vulnerability. A quiet tension hung in the air, punctuated only by the faint hum of the office and the sunlight catching the edges of abstract paintings on the walls. Emily's voice trembled as she spoke, words carefully chosen, each syllable carrying the weight of weeks spent in fear and desperation. Garrett's gaze softened imperceptibly, a flicker of recognition passing across his face as he listened. In that moment, the vast chasm between authority and struggle seemed bridgeable, as empathy quietly crept into the heart of a man who had long forgotten it. The scene was cinematic, intimate, and charged with unspoken emotion. A turning point where hope and humanity began to pierce the walls of corporate coldness. Rain streaked the city streets, turning every puddle into a reflective mosaic of glowing streetlights. Emily Walker, 34, knelt beside her son, Noah, 8, on the slick pavement, her soaked dark gray coat clinging to her frame. Strands of light brown hair plastered to her pale, tear-streaked face, framing blue-gray eyes wide with fear and fierce love. She wrapped her arms tightly around Noah, trying to shield him from the relentless drizzle, whispering urgent reassurances though her own voice trembled with despair. Noah, small and slender, leaned against his mother, chestnut brown hair wet and curling slightly, brown eyes glistening with courage and quiet determination. His navy blue hoodie was soaked, faded jeans muddy, and scuffed sneakers pressed against the cold pavement. In front of him, his beloved red bicycle gleamed dimly under the streetlights, a handmade cardboard sign reading, "Buy my bike, Mommy needs medicine," curling slightly at the edges from the rain. Each droplet that fell from the sky seemed to magnify their desperation, yet also underscored the depth of their love and resilience. Across the street, a sleek black luxury sedan idled. Mr. Garrett, 47, stepped out, his charcoal gray suit damp from the rain, salt and pepper hair wet but neatly styled, and piercing blue eyes softening as he took in the scene. One hand rested lightly on the car door, the other at his side, his usually commanding posture tempered by the first flickers of empathy. He observed the mother and child, the weight of his prior decisions now reflected in his conflicted gaze. In that rain-soaked moment, vulnerability, courage, and conscience collided. Emily's protective love, Noah's bravery, and Garrett's emerging humanity created a cinematic tableau of struggle, hope, and impending transformation. The scene captured raw emotion, a family fighting to survive, and a man standing at the crossroads of choice, compassion, and redemption. The rain had softened into a gentle drizzle, leaving the streets glistening under the soft glow of the streetlights. Emily Walker, 34, knelt beside her son, Noah, 8, clutching the familiar red bicycle, its paint glinting faintly in the damp light. Her pale face was flushed with relief, blue-gray eyes shimmering with tears, and her damp light brown hair clung to her cheeks as she whispered soothing words to Noah. The small boy leaned against her, chestnut brown hair wet and curling softly, brown eyes filled with cautious hope and pride for having tried to help his mother. His soaked navy hoodie and muddy jeans spoke of the struggle they had endured. Across from them, Mr. Garrett, 47, knelt slightly, the usual rigidity of his posture softened by the moment. His charcoal gray suit was damp from the rain, salt and pepper hair wet but styled, and piercing blue eyes filled with genuine empathy. One hand rested lightly on the bicycle handlebars, steadying it, while the other held a check toward Emily. The simple gesture carried the weight of compassion, redemption, and hope, bridging the gap between privilege and need. As Emily accepted the check, her hands shook, clutching Noah's shoulders in gratitude. Noah's small fingers rested gently on the bike, his wide eyes reflecting wonder and relief. The rain-slicked pavement mirrored the golden streetlight glow, highlighting this tender tableau, a cinematic moment where courage, love, and generosity converged, forever changing the lives of a mother, her son, and a man awakening to empathy. Sunlight streamed gently through the apartment window, casting a warm golden glow across the modest space. Emily Walker, 34, stood near the red bicycle, her pale face radiant with relief, blue-gray eyes glistening with tears of gratitude, and her light brown hair falling in soft curls around her shoulders. She wore a neat blouse and skirt, a quiet testament to her fresh start. The room, once cluttered and shadowed, now felt alive, sunlight illuminating the wooden floor, modest furniture, and small touches of care, neatly stacked bills, a flickering plant by the window, and soft furnishings that lent warmth to the space. Noah Walker, 8, bounced with excitement beside her, chestnut brown hair tousled, large brown eyes shining with pride and joy. His bright jacket and patched jeans spoke of resilience, and his small hands rested gently on the gleaming red bicycle. He looked up at his mother, a mix of admiration and relief in his gaze, feeling the security and love he had fought so hard to protect. At the doorway, Mr. Garrett, 47, stood, charcoal gray suit dry and neat, salt and pepper hair combed, and piercing blue eyes softened with empathy. He held a folder with documents for medical and educational support, extending one hand in reassurance. His posture was relaxed yet dignified, bridging the gap between authority and humanity. In that quiet, sunlit apartment, the trio shared a powerful, heartwarming connection. Emily's gratitude, Noah's joy, and Garrett's newfound empathy converged, marking the start of a brighter, hopeful chapter. The scene was cinematic, tender, and emotionally charged, a perfect tableau of resilience, love, and the transformative power of compassion.